This is part 2 of my two-part tutorial on creating a portal for shifting from one background to another. In the first part, you learned how to make a basic portal, functional but nothing fancy. In this part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how to add a fiery ring around it to increase the special effect value. The first step is to place a solid green screen in track 1 because this is going to be a green screen process. Then you could draw your own fire ring with some sort of paint program if you wish, but I'm going to use a wonderful effect and element that Filmora recently introduced as a free add-on. It's their martial arts pack, and near the end of the martial arts pack is something called Kung Fu Heat 2, and I'm going to put that in track 2. Now we're going to have to be scanning through this, so that will be made easier if we take this green track and shrink it down to be the same length as the fire track. That way we can use this wonderful little icon right here, which expands it to the entire length of the timeline. What we want, first let's take a quick look through what we've got. It's an expanding fireball. The inside clears out, and then eventually the whole thing fades away. What we want to find is a good portion of it in which it's well defined, fairly large, and the center is fairly well cleared out. And this looks like a good place for me, in my opinion. And so once we've done that, we want to take a snapshot. Now, you might be thinking, this is going to expand anyhow. Why don't we just use it directly? The reason is that there is just about zero chance that the pattern of expansion in this add-on effect is going to match the pattern of expansion that we created in part 1 of this tutorial. My expansion is very smooth and steady. This one, if you look at it closely, it goes fast in one part and slow in another part. And what you would end up with is the fire ring and the portal getting out of sync with each other. And we don't want that to happen. So we're going to find a place that looks really good. And we're going to go over to this little camera icon and take a snapshot of it. And here is where the snapshot appears. We're done with track 1 and track 2, so we can click on it, hit the delete key, get rid of track 2, click on track 1, hit the delete key, get rid of it. And now we want to import the final result of part 1, which was our 2 backgrounds with the portal. And that is this one. And I'm going to bring it down into track 1 and hit this nice little icon that expands it across the entire timeline. And let's just take a brief review of what we've got here. We're looking at background 1 entirely, and as we advance the playhead, we see background 2 appearing behind this ever-expanding portal. And we're going to pull that down and put it on top of. Notice that it has ended up the same length as our background track. If it had not done so, we would need to touch up the lengths by just clicking it, grabbing it, and adjusting it until it snaps into place at the correct length. Now we want to make this a green screen so that just the fire ring appears, so we right-click on track 2, and we have green screen here. Click that, and as usual, we're going to click the little eyedropper just so we can be absolutely positive that the color is matched up perfectly. And it's matched up. And again, as we always do, check the alpha channel box just to make sure that everything is exactly as we would expect. And then uncheck it and click OK. And so now we have a fire ring there, but unfortunately it's not tracking the portal. It's stationary. If we drag the playhead along, the portal expands, but the fire ring does not go with it. We have to take care of that, which is actually a little bit trickier than one would think. We have to get it just right. Here's how I do it. This is a pretty easy way. Drag the playhead along until the portal just touches the widest edge of the frame. So I'm looking at the left side. The portal is getting closer and closer to the left edge. And now the portal is just touching the left edge, right there. So that's going to be a kind of alignment point. We're going to cause the fire ring to line up to that same place. To do this, we double-click the fire ring track, and we can close out this chroma key and expand that. We want to go up to Transform. That'll let us change the size. And Animation. We're going to want to animate this. We grab a hold of the elevator, pull it down, and click Customize. Now what we want to do is expand this fire ring until the center of the edge, which I'm just showing with the mouse here, is lined up with the edge of our portal. So I take the scale slider and I increase it. And now the center of that fire ring edge is pretty much lined up with the edge of the portal. And that's going to be one reference point for the animation. Now we drag the playhead all the way back to the beginning where the portal has shrunk down to 0. And we want to do the same to the fire ring. We drag its scale all the way down to 0. So it has vanished along with the portal. And just for another cute thing, let's make the fire ring spin while it's expanding. So I'm going to see this rotate here. I'm going to grab that little handle and I'm going to give it a few spins around. 1, 2, 3 times around pretty much. And so that's the extent of the spinning. And we can now click OK because we have that aspect of the animation done. Let's see what happens. Let's drag the playhead along, and there comes the portal and the fire ring, and it's spinning and they're expanding together, and it gets up to this maximum point, the end of the animation. But now if we stopped at that point, if we didn't do anything else, that fire ring would stop dead and it would stay there, and that's kind of ugly. So I'm going to put the playhead just very slightly past where the prior animation ended, and I'm going to double click that track again, and we're still up here in the animation, custom animation. And what I want to do now is cause it to continue rotating but slightly disappear. So I click the Add button. That puts a Start Animation marker there. You see the marker right there under the mouse. I'm going to drag the playhead to the end of the track. Make sure it gets right up to the end. I can click it along single frame, 1 frame at a time. It's right up to the end now. And so at that point, I want to take a hold of the opacity and drag it down to 0. That'll cause the fire ring to vanish. And we might as well give this rotation button another spin, just so it keeps rotating as it vanishes, and we can click OK. And so now I'm going to pull the playhead back, and you'll see it slowly appears in reverse. So if I go back quite a ways, now I'm going to go forward, see it's spinning, it's expanding with the portal, still expanding, still spinning, it reaches its maximum, and now it's going to keep on spinning, but it's going to get more and more, less and less opaque, and by the end of the track it's going to vanish, and lo and behold, we have background 2 fully in view now. That's pretty much the end of what we needed to do, so we can just go up to export, and I'm going to call this, a good name might be Final with Fire Ring, and we export it, and that's the end of this tutorial. Thank you very much.